Dear students, in the next lecture of history, we will learn about the Muslim invaders from northwest. And these Muslim invaders were basically known as Turkish invaders, and one of the powerful invader was Mahmud of Ghazni. Mahmud of Ghazni was considered as a powerful king, and he wanted to conquer more and more territories just to expand his empire. And for this, he need huge wealth, and he also heard many stories of India's wealth. So he was attracted to the enormous wealth of India, and India was a neighbor country of Pakistan. So for this, he planned his wars and he planned his invasion. And I would like to tell you that why Mahmud of Ghazni attacked India. There are several reasons. Firstly, that he wanted to spread the Islam in India, and next he wanted to loot the wealth of India for his own country and for the establishment of his capital. And the third one is he wanted wealth also to meet the cost of army and warfare, for he wanted the expansion of his empire. As I already told you that he wanted to expand his empire, and for this he had to organize a huge army, and the cost of organizing the huge army is very much. So for this, he raided India many times, and last, he wanted to satisfy his ego as one of the greatest conqueror of the world. So these were the reasons that why Mahmud of Ghazni attacked India. And the main thing is that he attacked India 17 times, and for the very first time he defeated the Hindu ruler Jayapala. And after defeating from Mahmud of Ghazni, the Hindu ruler Jayapala committed suicide. And after that, his son Anandpal succeeded to the throne, but later on he was also defeated by Mahmud of Ghazni. And one of his famous raid was the raid on Somnath temple at Kathiawad. This was one of the richest temple of South India, and when he raided on Somnath temple, he destroyed and totally demolished the Somnath temple, and he looted all the money, all the gold from the Somnath temple. And then he went back to the capital city of Ghazni. One thing that I would like to tell you, that why he was successful in raiding India again and again, because he was a very sharp person. He was very well organized journal, means he planned everything in advance, and even though he didn't get time to the Indian kings to reorganize themselves. So these were the reason of his success. And if we wanted to know more about Mahmud of Ghazni, then we can go for a book which is written by Al-Bruni. Its name is Kitabul Hind, and in Kitabul Hind you can have a detailed explanation of Mahmud Ghazni's attack on India. Next, we will talk about the another invader, and its name was Muhammad Ghori, and he was again from Afghanistan. After the death of Mahmud of Ghazni, the Ghazni dynasty declined, and he took the advantage, and he wanted to conquer and control over the Ghaznavi territories. So he attacked and conquered many Indian territories. Uh, Muhammad Ghori invaded India in 1117 75 AD. So after the conquest of Multan and Punjab, he advanced towards Delhi. Then the brave Rajput ruler Prithviraj Chauhan, as we already discussed in the first lecture, uh, they both fought two battles at Tarain. And in the first battle, the Prithviraj Chauhan defeated Muhammad Ghori, and but the next year Muhammad Ghori come up with a strong army and attacked Prithviraj Chauhan, and he set up everything very cleverly. So in the second battle of Tarain, he won the battle and defeated Prithviraj Chauhan and captured its territories. Students, in previous chapter we have discussed about North India, and in this chapter we will discuss about South India and South Indian kingdoms. So there were mainly three kingdoms like Pallavas, Pandyas and Cholas who ruled over South India, and there was a conflict which remained throughout their period. And the first one, those were Pallavas. They were very powerful, but somehow they were overthrown by the Cholas. Once Cholas were the feudatories of the Pallavas, means feudatories means the जिसको हम बोलते हैं ज़मींदार. And with the passage of time, these Cholas feudatories become more stronger, and one time they overthrow the Pallavas. So now we will discuss about the Chola dynasty in detail. The Chola dynasty was founded by Vijayalaya, and their capital was Thanjavur. One thing I would like to tell you that these Cholas are different from the Cholas of Sangam. That's why these Cholas are called Imperial Cholas. Now we will talk about the South King, the Chola king, and his name was Rajendra Chola. He was one of the greatest and brilliant commander, and he established a vast empire, and his army and his administration was well organized. And because the kingdom was rich with resources, so that's why his kingdom was very powerful kingdom. And apart from this, the Rajendra Chola, who is also known as Rajaraja I, he has a very strong navy, and with the help of the navy he did many navy expeditions, and he also conquered Sri Lanka, and mostly the northern part of Sri Lanka. And apart from this, he also conquered Maldives Island. And the Brideshwar temple in Thanjavur is also made by Rajaraja Chola. Next we will talk about Rajendra Chola. He was the son of Rajaraja Chola, and he was also very powerful and brilliant like his father. And he completed the conquest of Sri Lanka, and which was started by his father, and his father was not completed that conquest, and after that Rajendra Chola completed this conquest. And he was the first king of South India who conquered the northern parts of India, and his conquest was up to Ganga river, means he conquered the Ganga river. That's why he got the title of Gangaikonda Cholapuram, because of his conquest up to Ganga river. Now if we talk about the art and architecture of Chola Empire, so it was believed that they were the great patrons of art and culture, and they have constructed many temples, like Rajaraja I and Rajendra Chola have made many temples at Thanjavur and Gangaikonda Cholapuram. These were the temples which were built by the Rajendra Chola and Rajaraja I. And in these temples you can find the inscriptions which are written over there on the walls of temple. Here you can see the image of Brideshwar temple, and it was a very beautiful building. So it is always said that these temples are the meeting places of people, and in these temples the Carnatic music was originally sung. And now we will talk about the sculptures. And students, you have seen many times this statue, and this statue is a bronze statue of King Nataraj. King Nataraj is the king of dance, and you have seen this image on your geometry boxes and on many covers of the notebooks. So the famous statue of Nataraj was found in the Chola Empire. So this is the best example of their art and craft. Now we will talk about the languages. and literature. So many regional language like Tamil, Telugu and Kannada were developed during Chola period, and apart from this they have translated the text, or they have translated many books and literature into their regional language. So apart from this, the inscriptions I would like to tell you that these are written over the stones or on the walls. Sometimes these are written on metal. So these inscriptions tells us about the kings of that time, and in this inscriptions it was written mostly by the poets of the king, and it is in the praise of king, and uh, whatever the events occur during that time, it was written on these inscriptions. And these inscriptions also tells us about the Chola Empire, and it is a good resource of information of Chola Empire. And apart from this, we have also found the copper plates. So copper plate inscription, so this is the very different type of feature of Chola Empire. So and as I already told you that there are some inscriptions which are found on the temples walls. So now we will talk about the administration of Chola Empire. It was very well organized, and in the Chola administration, the king was the most powerful in the whole empire, and his orders were regarded as law. And to run his administration, he took the advice of the Purohits. Purohits means the Brahmins. So these Brahmins helped the king to run his administration. And apart from this, there were many assemblies conducted by the king, and these assemblies were also conducted at village level to solve the problem of the villages. Chola administration was very well organized and very efficient. So for this, they divided the Chola Empire into provinces. Provinces means states. For these states are called mandalams, and further these mandalams were divided into districts, and districts are called valandus. For example, like India is a whole empire. India is a country, and we will consider it as an empire. And India, as we know, that is divided into different states. And same like the Chola Empire was divided into states, and these states are called mandalam. And like in India, we are living in Punjab, and Punjab is further divided into districts. And same like in Chola Empire, these districts were called valandus. And group of village means a clan of villages is called nadu. And these mandalams were governed by or take care by a governor. So like in Punjab, not in Punjab, even every state of India is administered or run by the chief minister. So same in the administration of Chola Empire, the every mandalam is take care by the governor. And the towns were called nagaram, and the big towns were called tanayor. So far we have learned about Chola administration, their language, literature, art. So how can we forget about their agriculture and irrigation? So the Cholas, they started agriculture, and they started it on a very large scale. Means earlier they were cultivating on the small piece of land, but after that they started clearing the forest, and then they started on agriculture. They started cultivation on those cleared forest land. And if we talk about the irrigation, it is one of the well organized irrigation system. And for this they have divided the river Kaveri into several small channels. Means उन्होंने कावेरी रिवर को डिफरेंट चैनल्स में क्या कर दिया था, डिवाइड कर दिया था. जिससे क्या हुआ कि जब उसको डिफरेंट चैनल्स में डिवाइड किया, तो उन चैनल्स की हेल्प से, मतलब वो चैनल से पानी डिफरेंट पीस ऑफ लैंड तक पहुंचा, जिससे वो जो लैंड थी इट बिकम फर्टाइल. तो उसका रिज़ल्ट क्या हुआ, नाउ देयर वर गुड क्रॉप्स प्रोड्यूस्ड ऑन दैट एरिया. एंड इतना ही नहीं, दे हैव डन many other things, like to prevent the crops from flood, they constructed embankments. Means these are the raised structure which hold back the water. So So that's why we can say the irrigation system was very organized. And apart from this, they also make many artificial water cropping. They have adopted various method of artificial water cropping, like they have dug many wells, and they made huge tanks to store the water, to collect the rainwater in them. And people, they were very active, and they interested in the development works. They were actively participate in the development works. So the great dam on river Kaveri was made at Thanjavur. So Thanjavur was the capital of the Cholas, and it is called the granary of the south. And as we already discussed about the kingdoms, especially the Chola kingdoms, their temples were very rich, means they have lot of wealth, and they used this wealth very wisely. How? They invest this wealth or this money into agriculture. So they invest in various forms, like they started cultivating on barren lands भी, जहाँ पे बंजर ज़मीन जिस पे कुछ भी नहीं होता, उस पे उन्होंने दे डिड अ लॉट ऑफ इरिगेशन वर्क देयर. एंड उन्होंने वहाँ पे जो आर्टिफिशियल वाटरवेज के थ्रू मतलब कि इरिगेशन की, एंड देन दे स्टार्ट कल्टिवेटिंग ओवर द barren land. So this is how they used the barren lands. So after studying about the Chola Empire, we can say that the Chola Empire was one of the important empire and the remarkable period that Indian history has faced, it has experienced. So this is one of the important dynasty, the Chola dynasty. So we can say that the development work, or the work in other fields, like in administration, like in language, literature, art and culture, the whole work done by the Chola administration was amazing, and we can appreciate this for their work. So I hope you understand this chapter very well. Thank you so much.